I'm 25, male, and my ex-girlfriend is 24. We were together for 3 years and marriage was in the future. My ex always loved true crime, but she was really getting into it. I want to say she had been down her rabbit hole for about 4 to 6 months before she really started acting weird with me. She didn't want me to have her location, which we mutually had for safety reasons. She was telling her mom, sister, and friends everything I did. She was being skittish around me, kept a diary when she had never had one before, and would just be overly cautious around me. I don't know how to describe it. You could just see she was being weird. Even at gatherings, my family asked me if we were fighting because she seemed overly cautious around me and only stuck with the women. It was really starting to get to me, but I didn't want her suspicions to be right. So I didn't do anything about it. She had told me that, as a man, I have to understand. Domestic violence happens all the time. Even perfect men suddenly end up toxic, and I was no different. It really got to me. All I could think then, and even now, is that I'm nothing like those men. I get that it could be anyone, but seriously, I don't even kill bugs. I take them outside. She had never been in an abusive relationship either. This behavior was so unlike her, but I felt I could do nothing because of her position. If I reacted badly, she would be right, and I know I'm not toxic, so I just took it. We had been together for 3 entire years, and she really thought that I would suddenly hurt her? I've never even raised my voice at her, and I came from a broken home with domestic violence. She knows about that. I would never treat a woman or a child, man, or animal that way. A few days ago, she put up cameras, which I noticed quickly because she didn't hide them well. When I confronted her, she told me it was for her safety and peace of mind and that I didn't care about her safety if I wanted them gone. I got really angry, but I got this moment of clarity all of a sudden. All of the anger left my body as quickly as it came, and I understood. All those months hit me like a train, and I was over it all. I didn't yell or react. I just said that we were over. I told her that I couldn't be with someone who thought of me as a criminal. I didn't take anything. I just left to stay at my parents' house. She's been telling her family that I'm a toxic idiot. I've gotten a few semi-threatening calls and texts from her brothers. I'm really torn up about it, and I feel like a real idiot now. Her texts range from, "I'm sorry, I know you're not an abuser," to how I never cared about her and that she was right about me all along. Why did she convince herself that I would mistreat her? I had never ever laid my hands on her, nor have I ever yelled at her. If something was wrong, we handled it like adults, not dysfunctional teens. I miss her a lot, and I'm starting to regret it all. I should have just let her put her cameras up. That probably isn't the self-respecting choice, but I really loved my girlfriend, and I understood to an extent. Am I the idiot for breaking up with my girlfriend after she set up the cameras in our apartment? Not the idiot. So she basically lied to everyone about you being a toxic idiot in front of every camera she set up, in case you turned out to be one? This person is unhinged. I'm a woman who enjoys true crime, and this is so weird. You have a right to privacy. If she doesn't trust you, you need to move on. 3 years into a relationship, her behavior smells of an undiagnosed mental illness. But that's not your problem here. Stay away, stay far away, and keep copies of all communication. He's lucky he got out when he did. This was all about her fantasizing about being a victim and setting him up to become one. Even now, she's told others that he's toxic while telling him secretly that he isn't one. She's in it for the attention and is in desperate need of therapy. OP should not be alone with her. Talk to her by text because she's going to turn this around on him and paint him as the abuser now that he's walking out the door. 100% this. 6 more months and he could be walking away with a criminal record after she bruises herself and files a police report. Wannabe victims will find ways to be victims. By the way, when you go get your stuff, which you need to, take someone with you or a deputy. That way you'll have a witness. Protect yourself. This woman clearly needs help. Who knows what she'll make up next? My husband, 34, and I, 31 female, recently threw a birthday party for our toddler daughter. We also have 2 other little ones in the house, 2 toddlers, male and female. My husband's dad decided that he wanted to stay with us for the party. He brought his wife, my brother-in-law, and my sister-in-law. We were hosting almost 100 people in our house. I ordered most of the items we needed for hosting and serving purposes and had the food catered. All we needed to do on the day of was move around our home to accommodate the tables and chairs and hosting equipment and set everything out. My father-in-law decided to spend most of the day in his room and away from the setup. His wife constantly walked around and complained about being asked to stay quiet since the baby was napping. As I was running around carrying large tables, moving furniture, decorating, watching children, etc., my husband's family was calling me mean names behind my back while also being no help at all, not even hanging out with the kids they were supposedly there to see. After the party, my family stuck around to help clean up. My husband's family also stuck around, apparently just to judge. My father-in-law, his wife, sister-in-law, and brother-in-law all stayed out of the way and napped while we cleaned up. My mother-in-law and her husband sat around and watched my family clean up. After my mother-in-law and her husband left, 3 hours after the party ended, they talked about how weird it was that my family was helping and how gross it was that everything needed to be cleaned immediately. They said that my kids are probably going to have problems as they grow up since I keep them in such a sterile environment. My house is in no way perfect, but after hosting that many people again, there is some cleaning to do before letting 3 toddlers run around the house again. I told my husband that his family is no longer allowed to stay with us when they're in town for events and need to leave when the event is over. I'm tired of feeling judged in my own space. He says I'm being too harsh and that they're just not as clean as we are. He thinks since they didn't actively hinder us and didn't make these comments directly to me, I should just brush it off. Am I the idiot? People were insulting you in your own home and your husband thinks it's too harsh not to have them stay overnight anymore? A darn stand-up guy you've got yourself there, but I bet you're just constantly basking in the glow of his appreciation and love. You don't just have an in-law problem, you have a husband problem. Real talk, OP. If my in-laws had come to my house, didn't help, and insulted me, I would have read them the riot act. If not for me, my family would have read them the riot act. Your husband left you high and dry on this one, and I hope you push him to the curb. But why are you throwing a party with almost 100 people for a toddler? This sounds like absolute madness to me, LOL. 100? 20 feels like a lot. Stop doing it. Tell your husband that since it's no big deal, he can do it all next time. Then do nothing. Sit right down next to mother-in-law and father-in-law as they complain. Update. My husband helped with some setup. He also helped take down all the rental items and get them situated for pickup. He didn't get as much done as he could have, as he would stop and talk with his family and have to be directed back to party setup and takedown, but he wasn't just sitting with them. A neighbor saw me struggling with setup and came over to help. They overheard my father-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and father-in-law's wife talking about me, which is how I found out. Afterward, when my family was cleaning up, they overheard the comments while going around the house. Yes, 100 people is a lot, LOL. Between both sides of immediate families, that was about 30. Both sides divorced with new partners and some additional children with their own children. Then with extended family. We get together for almost all the holidays and regularly for visits. It was another almost 40. Only about 25 people were not related to us. 7 kids from daycare and their families. It seemed easier to do it all at once. My husband and I have a date night this weekend, and I plan to address this issue more then. So my sister's a personal chef for some upper middle class families, mostly lawyers and doctors who work 24/7, but still want home-cooked healthy meals. My husband always complained about my disgusting food, and he called me worthless in the kitchen. Whenever we were invited to my sister's or mom's, he would bite my head off about how they were better. I know that I'm as good, if not better, because I was taught by the same chef, Mom, who's a literal genius. I had it up to here and said, fine, we can pay my sister for dinners. So for a year now, he's been paying me $750 to pay my sister. When he comes home, he starts raving about how the whole apartment smells amazing from the delivered food, and that only now does he look forward to coming home for dinner. Yes, it smells amazing, but it's because the food is made in my kitchen by me. The only thing that has changed is that I put my sister's name on it and bagged the money. Ha ha ha, not even sorry. He is happy. I'm richer, and my sister finds the whole thing amusing. Everyone wins. She even offered me to work for her too, but I feel guilty. Am I the idiot for lying to my husband that my sister is cooking the food that he pays $750 a week for when it's me who cooks? You are the idiot to yourself. Why would you stay with a man who enjoys hurting you like this? I don't see a win. Your husband's a moron who enjoys hurting you. You seem to have very low self-esteem and no self-respect. Why are you still married to this idiot? She's getting rich. Sis needs to go up on her prices. Groceries are super expensive now, right? LOL. Seriously, $3,000 a month for doing what she was doing anyway? Husband sounds like a moron in addition to everything else. I mean, assuming the husband is doing at least okay in every other department, it's her life to live, man. There's a give and take in every relationship, and something tells me the $3,000 extra spending money per month puts a nice little crescendo on all his attitude. That being said, I'd rather have a partner who respects me than more money, but that's my life to live. OP, the fact that he was so insulting and vile about your food, but now loves sister's food, means he was just trying to hurt you, to break you down and make you feel small. His high praise now is supposed to make you feel jealous of your sister and feel like you weren't good enough to provide for your husband. I say keep taking the money, but make an exit plan now, in case he turns his attention to hurting you elsewhere when he realizes his current angle isn't hurting you anymore. My now ex-boyfriend broke up with me when I was 5 months pregnant. He said he was no longer happy, but he would be there 100% to support me and the baby. He said there was no one else and that he just didn't feel happy anymore. He was very absent when it came to appointments and work schedules these days, including if we had scans coming up. We had a scare when the baby was showing signs of decreased movements and he didn't show up to the hospital. I have some concerns about how we're going to co-parent, and when asking him about that, he shows no interest in having these conversations with me. I asked if he was seeing someone else, as he had shown no interest in this pregnancy, and he said no. I asked him to swear on our baby's life, and he did. Well, 2 weeks ago, I found out he was lying and he was seeing someone else after catching him in this lie. He told me he was sorry and would do better, but it's been weeks and still nothing. This is really hard, as this pregnancy's been the worst experience of my life. I've been so sick and put on bed rest, so out of work for the past 3 months, and I've just been alone throughout the whole thing. Not only that, but he swore on our baby's life and still lied. I can't deal with it anymore. I told him that I was going to do this alone and he would not be involved in this baby's life at all, as he hadn't been around for the pregnancy. He asked me to change my mind, but my mind was already made up. I don't want my daughter to be around all these lies and letdowns. I told my mom about it, and she thinks I'm being selfish and an idiot, as I'm cutting a father out of his daughter's life. You are the idiot. You don't have the legal right to deny the natural father access to his children. He can simply prove paternity, and unless you can prove him unfit, he'll pay child support and be in his child's life. And you don't get to deny your child their parent because you felt betrayed by the father. It's irresponsible, vindictive, and childish. Girl, your child hasn't been born yet, and you're already using him or her as a weapon against the father? I'll soften that statement by pointing out that you're probably feeling very emotional and vulnerable right now, but you need to nip this in the bud ASAP, because it'll be your child paying for your poor decisions. I disagree with the others. You see all the writing on the wall that he'll be a crap father. You don't have to go out of your way to ensure his involvement. He can fight for custody and set up something if he wants to, but it should be on him to put in the effort and get it all set up. He's not even putting in the effort now. He doubts he can get it together to file. I agree with this. Know that if you decide to take him to court for child support, he will very likely decide to counter with custody. The only times I've seen anybody successfully stay out of the court system and not end up with a deadbeat having court-ordered time was if they didn't go after child support. My parents gave me, a teen male, an old-fashioned name, Arthur. It's my grandpa's middle name. He hates it and never uses it. But my parents wanted to honor him, Mom specifically, and she decided Arthur was perfect because it was vintage, unlike Grandpa's first name. I hated my name always. Sometimes I get teased for having a grandpa's name. Not as much anymore, because old names are being used more for younger kids. But when I was younger, it got really bad. My friends helped me come up with a nickname to use instead. It's Dex. When I meet people, I tell them my name is Dex. Teachers call me Dex, my friends and everyone at school call me Dex, and neighbors call me Dex. My dad calls me Dex. So does Grandpa. But my mom? She's mad that I use Dex all the time now. She argued that Artie would be better, as juvenile as that is. I told her that's not any better than Arthur. Mom said Arthur looks much better than Dex on documents and at work. I told her she could change her name to Arthur then. She told me Arthur is for a boy or a man, not a woman. Lately it's been bad. She heard me and Grandpa talk about how I wanted to change my name, and Grandpa told me that he'd make that my 18th birthday gift, giving me the money to have it changed. I told him that was great because I really wanted to get rid of Arthur. Grandpa told me he felt the same way. He also said that Arthur's been his grandfather's first name, so that's why it was his middle name. He had hoped it would end with him. Mom came to me when we got home from my grandparents' house, and she told me I was not changing my name to Dex. She said I have a perfectly good name, not something like Dex, which isn't even a real name. I told her I'd rather have a fake name than Arthur. She told me to go by Michael then. But changing my name in 3 years is disrespectful, and she raised me to be better. She told me my name is fashionable now, like I care, and that I shouldn't take people named Ryder, Sonny, Bryson, and Indigo seriously. I told her not to insult my friends' names. She told me not to insult her. Dad had to step in and tell Mom to stop. Mom said I was fighting with my own mother over a nickname, and it shows how disrespectful I am. Am I the idiot? Honoring him by giving his grandson a name that he himself hates? Did he drop your mom on her head when she was a baby? I told her she can change her name to Arthur then. That's epic, and you should keep repeating it every time she brings up your name, like a broken record. Also, obviously, not the idiot. Exactly. It's such a stupid idea. My grandma hated both her first name and her middle name, so she went by a nickname. When I was born, my mother honored her by using her nickname as my middle name. It means a lot to her that my name was chosen thoughtfully, with respect for my grandma as a person. I can see how your mom is worried about you having a proper name, as people can be very judgmental, and having a too fashionable name could realistically hinder your career or other parts of your life. However, insisting on a name Arthur that she gave you is just narcissistic and self-centered of her. Change your name to Dexter. I'm sure that's real enough for your mom, and you can still go by Dex. Unless, of course, you specifically want it to be Dex. Your mom needs to back off.